Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And this time I'm going to be going over 5 running backs that I've identified as great values in drafts this season. These are all guys being drafted outside the top 20 at the position that I think are pretty really safe bets to beat their ADPs and potentially even do a lot better than that this season. So these are not necessarily guys that I think have a great opportunity to finish as like the RB1 overall or any of that, but they're guys that I think can really help stabilize and solidify your roster. And I think they're really great targets in drafts, especially as like some safer picks. For those of you just looking to get like a reliable weekly starter, I think these are great assets to have and guys that you're going to be really thankful to have on your roster over the course of the season as you need that depth as injuries and buys crop up. These guys end up being extremely valuable, and hopefully you guys see that, and hopefully you guys like these players. If I don't mention a player you guys wanted to hear talk about, let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to give you guys my opinion on that. If you disagree with any of these, let me know in the comments below as well. And then if you haven't already, highly recommend you guys go watch the wide receiver version of this video. That one came out yesterday. And then tomorrow I'll be giving you guys the quarterback / tight end version of this as well. So yeah, should be a lot of fun, and let's get into it. So starting things off with one of my favorites this year, it's going to be Brian Robinson. And I know Brian Robinson isn't the sexiest pick in the world. He's not going to go out there and run for 200 yards in a game. He's not going to have a 3-touchdown game unless he falls in the end zone from the 1-yard line a couple times. But he feels like an absolute locked out perform his ADP right now. He's currently being drafted as the running back 31. He's tied to a fantastic offense that arguably overproduced a little bit in terms of their passing touchdown volume last year. You had Terry McLaurin score 13 receiving touchdowns. That number should certainly come down. Maybe you see the touchdowns shift a little bit more towards the running backs. So there's a little bit more upside from last season in terms of what Brian Robinson produced. And he was actually the running back 22 last season, the running back 28 before that. And he did that despite missing a little bit of time in each of the last 2 seasons. He only played 14 games last year, 15 the year before. And he's not a bad pass catcher either. He caught 36 passes in 2023, 20 passes last season. Like, you got Eckler there. He's obviously not the primary pass catching back, but he can do it. And just having that little extra oomph on your roster is certainly useful. On top of that, he's got legitimate double-digit touchdown upside every year. He's scored 8 and 9 touchdowns each of the last 2 seasons. He's finally in like a really good offense, right? So the fact that he was able to score 9 touchdowns 2 years ago in a bad offense, I think that's a pretty clear sign that there's going to be some potential for at least a 10 to 12 touchdown season in him, or this year for him. That's a incredibly valuable asset when you're drafting him outside the top 30 at the position. So I feel pretty good about Brian Robinson as like a reliable running back 2 for your roster. If you want to go like hero RB, draft Brian Robinson later on just to sort of give yourself a reliable running back 2. I think that's a great thing to do. And then on top of that, I think there's legitimate room for just the carry volume to go up. He had a career high of 205 carries 3 years ago. It's been like around 190 each of the last 2 seasons. But the fact of the matter is, there's the possibility here that these Commanders team is just dominant. They could potentially be a really good team this season. And if that's the case, they're going to be winning a lot more than they have been. That gives you a lot of opportunity for Brian Robinson to sort of salt games away and get a lot of carries in the second half of games. I know the Commanders won a lot of games last year, but a lot of those were one-score games. You could certainly expect to see this roster progress a little bit this season, potentially perform better than they did last year. Maybe just to have leads earlier on in games that could easily result in some increased touchdown production, more carries, and could really give you a lot of upside for Robinson this year. So he's one of my favorite picks as like a later round running back. Next up, we got a personal favorite of mine and a guy that it feels like I've got to sort of tout for every single offseason now. But David Montgomery is a guy who I think is still a really great value in drafts this season. He's finished as the running back 15 and running back 16 in each of the last 2 seasons, so he's been an incredibly valuable asset for us in fantasy. The Lions really have no reason to not continue using Monty as an integral part of the offense. He's an elite short yardage back. He's just been an absolutely incredible part of this roster. And I know they lost Ben Johnson, but we know that Dan Campbell is an incredibly huge fan of David Montgomery. It makes a lot of sense for this team to want to use both running backs over the course of the season. You don't want to go out there and give Gibbs 20, 25 touches every single week because he's a smaller back. You want to make sure he holds up and that he's available come playoff time. This is a team with Super Bowl aspirations in Detroit. So you definitely want to make sure that David Montgomery is going to be an integral part of the offense again this year. And I honestly think there might even be room for a little bit more touchdown upside. You had Jared Goff finish with a career high in passing touchdowns of 39 last season. If that number just shifts back to like 30, you got like 9 more touchdowns that could go the running back's way. Again, maybe this entire team just regresses from an offensive standpoint a little bit, having lost Ben Johnson. But if they end up producing to the same level they did, you see a little bit more of a shift towards rushing touchdowns. Monty probably has like 15, 16 rushing touchdown upside. Like, there's a legitimate chance Monty goes out there and scores a touchdown every single week. And just having that on your roster as a running back too is incredibly valuable. He's currently being drafted as a running back 22 off boards right now. That is significantly lower than he's finished each of the last couple of years. And there's always the what if with David Montgomery, right? If Jahmyr Gibbs were to go down, you would immediately see David Montgomery slot himself in as like a top 10 back. And that kind of upside is really tough to find. I think David Montgomery's a fantastic pick. I don't mind taking him with Jahmyr Gibbs either. If you just want to draft those two and start them every single week, you can do that. It limits your upside just a little bit, but it's also a pretty safe way to approach things as well. So I like Montgomery a lot. I'm definitely going to target him this season, and I think he's going to be a really reliable running back too, again with upside if something were to happen to Gibbs. Next up, we got another kind of favorite of mine this season. It's actually DeAndre Swift, who in my mind is just being drafted far too late right now. The Bears, quite honestly, can't be any worse this year on offense than they were last season. They were near the bottom in pretty much any statistical category that you look at. If you just watched them play, it was not fun to watch the Bears play offense. And there weren't really any bright spots in this entire offense last season. And despite all of that, DeAndre Swift finished last year as the running back 21. Not an elite talent. I don't think he's got very good vision or anything, but we know he's an incredible athlete. We know he's a great pass catcher as well, which certainly lends itself towards the possibility of him sort of being used as like a Jahmyr Gibbs light in this offense for Ben Johnson. Obviously, with Ben Johnson coming over as the new head coach for the Bears. There's no legitimate competition for touches here either. They've got Roschon Johnson, who's been there for a couple years now. He's had an opportunity to show that he's useful. He couldn't crack the starting lineup over Swift last season. And then they added a 7th-round rookie in Kyle Manangai. Maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. But the fact of the matter is, day 3 rookies, especially 7th-round draft picks, really low hit rate there. So in general, it's pretty fair to assume that DeAndre Swift is probably going to be, I'm not going to say a workhorse because I don't think he's capable of holding up to that like 20, 25 touch volume, but I think he's going to get 15 or 20 touches every week, be an integral part of the passing game, and there could be a ton of upside if he ends up still getting the goal line work as well. This offensive line in Chicago is significantly improved. That was like the first thing Ben Johnson looked to address as soon as he arrived here, and right now you've got DeAndre Swift being drafted as a running back 24 off boards. He's never finished lower than that, and this is probably the best role he's had. He's still a decent player. I think he's a talented enough player to be good for us in fantasy this season and in this offense, especially if things get clicking for Chicago. Swift has maybe like top 15 upside. So I feel really confident about Swift being a solid RB2 for us this season. And then if things were to break right for him, I think you could see him even outperform that. So I like him quite a bit. I'm definitely drafting kind of an uncomfortable amount of DeAndre Swift this season. Diving a little bit deeper here, I think that J.K. Dobbins has an opportunity to be a great value for us in drafts this season. I am personally a huge R.J. Harvey fan, but right now as the RB40 off boards, I feel like J.K. Dobbins is a really incredible value. He's got a legitimate shot to start the season for Denver as their running back 1. Maybe he loses a little bit of that role over the course of the season as the rookie earns more and more snaps, but getting potentially a starting running back for a really good offense in Denver is incredibly valuable, and being able to get that as running back 40 off boards, it's really tough to find in fantasy drafts. He is an elite pass protector, so I think there's also the opportunity here where he just surprises us in terms of how often he's on the field in passing situations in general, and I myself included. I do think that R.J. Harvey is a really talented pass catcher. I think he's going to find his way onto the field quite a bit, but if he just doesn't earn the trust of the coaching staff, then Dobbins could certainly be just a reliable guy that finds himself on the field. If he's on the field that much in an offense that's going to hyper-target the running back position, Dobbins has a chance to be really good for fantasy. He could also very clearly earn the short yardage role. He's probably he's probably the front runner to have that role in this offense already. We've seen Sean Payton produce multiple offenses with multiple valuable running backs before. We go back to Pierre Thomas and Reggie Bush. You got Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. You can see the same thing here with J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. So as the RB40 off boards, I think you can legitimately just draft J.K. Dobbins and even start him week 1. That makes him like a really great RB0 target or 0 running back target. And I also think there's just a lot of upside to happen there. Like, he could easily just stave off Harvey as the lead back in this offense all year. If R.J. Harvey went down, Dobbins would certainly be a workhorse running back in a really good offense. So I think there's a lot of upside here. I think he's valuable even without anything shaking out like from a crazy standpoint. I think you can start him, and being able to find a starting running back as the RB40, that's tough to do. So I like him quite a bit here. And this last one probably makes me want to vomit, but Javonte Williams, I think, is a guy that could be a valuable asset for us in fantasy this season. Sadly, he's probably the best option that Dallas has in the backfield here. You've got Miles Sanders, who's dust at this point. You've got a day 3 rookie in Jaden Blue, who I liked immediately coming out of the draft, but We've gotten some negative reports out of training camp, reportedly some coaches calling him lazy. I don't necessarily want to buy into that. It's not like his career is over because of one bad report or anything, but typically speaking, when we're in the offseason like this, all the news should be good on players, right? Like, they're not in pads. There's no reason for coaches to come out and say bad things about a player. They definitely just want to hype people up. You typically see a lot of hype in the offseason, and you don't really see a whole lot of negative news. So it really makes it easy for me to focus in on the negative news in the offseason because that's typically the thing that's more likely to be true. Like, you hear in Denver, you hear Sean Payton come out and say that Javonte or Pat Bryant is going to be the next Michael Thomas. Like, right? Of course, he's just hyping up a guy. That's not necessarily true. But when you hear bad news, it's typically good to just put your ear to the ground and listen to that. I think in general, if that's the case, then Javonte Williams is just a clear-cut lead back in this offense. He's another year removed from a devastating injury. I'm not saying he's going to be great, but he should be a little bit healthier. You could certainly see him just play better than he did last season. He's also a really good pass protector as well. He had the 4th most snaps in the NFL in pass protection last season. He's going to play on passing downs in this offense, and given that this is a team that basically every down is a passing down for, that's certainly something to be considered for sure. He's going to be on the field enough. He could certainly catch a lot of passes, and he also definitely profiles as the back that should be the short yardage back as well. So I think you're looking at a guy who's going to be a pass catching running back and a short yardage running back on a good offense. So that's certainly a recipe for success in fantasy. He's being drafted as the running back 36 right now. I think he could certainly just sort of volume his way to a top 24 finish. I think a great comp would be Kareem Hunt from last season. I think we all know at this point Kareem Hunt, not an elite running back by any means. There's a reason he's on a veteran minimum salary on and off of NFL rosters. There was a 7-week stretch last season where Kareem Hunt was the running back 12 for the Kansas City Chiefs while Isaiah Pacheco was out. The reason for that, he was reliable on passing downs, and he was the short yardage back there. So he had a lot of touchdown upside every week, caught a few passes that gives you a very reliable floor and a pretty high ceiling every single week. So I think Javonte's got that same recipe of what cooking for him this year. I think he's probably going to be a pretty solid value in drafts, and he's someone that I'm definitely targeting this year, despite the fact that it makes me want to vomit. So that'll do it for the running back values. Up next, I'll be going over values at the quarterback and tight end position. Going to make that a hybrid video because it seems like you guys care a little bit less about those two positions. And then we're going to get into some more mock drafts. We'll do some more auction draft strategy. There was a request for a super flex mock draft, so I'll get into that. All sorts of content coming out. We're going to make sure we're getting you guys at least 3 videos a week all off season long. Probably even more than that during the course of the regular season as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. There's going to be a lot of stuff here. And if you stick around all year long, I think we'll win some championships together. So I really appreciate you guys. If you made it this far in the video, hopefully you found it useful. Just give it a thumbs up if you did. It helps me out quite a bit. And I'll catch you with the next one, guys. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.